Welcome to The Explainer. I am so absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Look, we are in the middle of a massive shift right now in 2026 when it comes to how organizations upskill their teams, transform their workplace cultures, and fundamentally improve team dynamics. We are going to explore this really powerful combination of microlearning and microcoaching. And if you've been wondering how the most dynamic teams out there are building deep trust, how they're blending skills, and driving real tangible performance without locking people in a classroom for hours on end, well, you're exactly in the right place. We're going to talk about using these tools for ongoing soft skill development, cultivating things like true humility, and setting up a culture where everyone can openly support each other. So let's get into it. But first, we really need to start by busting a pretty major myth. I want you to ask yourself, is your training actually improving performance, or are you literally just shortening your content? For over a decade now, companies have basically been taking these hour-long, super dry compliance videos, chopping them up into 5-minute clips and calling it microlearning. But let's be real, taking long, disjointed courses and just cutting them into smaller pieces, that's just compressed learning. It absolutely does not enable performance. It doesn't actually change human behavior. So today we're going to look at the data to see what actually works. Okay, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the corporate training bottleneck, move on to the rise of microcoaching, walk through the 2026 microlearning blueprint, explore learning in the flow, see how AI drives hyper-personalization, and finally, look at how we measure real performance impact. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the corporate training bottleneck. Think about your average workday. Employees right now are just incredibly time-constrained, right? They're navigating super tight deadlines, back-to-back meetings, yet traditional coaching resources are completely bottlenecked. In fact, according to the Institute of Coaching, only 23% of employees feel they actually receive the coaching support they need. To put that into perspective, that means nearly 80% of your workforce is out there just struggling. They're struggling with daily tasks, difficult team dynamics, and communication hurdles without any real-time guidance. People are literally waiting weeks for a performance review just to get a little bit of feedback, and in the meantime, productivity and team synergy are taking a huge hit. Which naturally brings us to Section 2, the rise of microcoaching. The global coaching industry is just soaring right now, hitting a massive $5.34 billion. That is a 62% growth since 2019. The demand for scalable, truly effective development is higher than we've ever seen. Organizations know for sure that they need to invest in their people, but they desperately need a model that actually fits into the chaotic modern workday. And the supply side is definitely rising to meet that demand. There are now a record 122,974 coach practitioners worldwide. The profession is absolutely exploding because the way we learn, how we grow, and how we adapt is fundamentally evolving. But, a lot of these coaches are starting to realize that the old traditional model of delivery, it simply doesn't scale to every single employee who needs it. And this brings us to a really fascinating shift. Traditional coaching is often hour-long, it's very expensive, scheduled weeks in advance, and, let's be honest, usually reserved just for the executives. Microcoaching, on the other hand, is highly accessible, it's on-demand, virtual, and it specifically targets immediate challenges right in the exact moment the employee is actually facing them. It completely democratizes development so that literally everyone, from the brand new intern all the way up to the CEO, gets the support they need. So, what does this all mean in practice? Well, think of microcoaching as a sort of coaching snack. It's this highly focused 10 to 20-minute session targeting one very specific challenge. The goal is to spark a quick insight and give you a highly actionable takeaway. Now, it doesn't replace deep traditional coaching, right? Rather, it complements it. It creates this amazing momentum through small, consistent wins that just compound over time into major, noticeable transformations. All right, let's dive into Section 3, the 2026 Microlearning Blueprint. So how are the top organizations out there actually deploying this new style of learning? Let's walk cleanly through this 4-layer blueprint. Step 1 is task-centered design. We absolutely have to start with the job task itself, not the content. What is the employee actually struggling to do right now? Step 2 is right-sized formats. Honestly, not everything needs a high-production video. Sometimes the best thing is just a quick checklist or a brief scenario. Step 3 is embedded delivery. You put the learning right inside their workflow, think Slack or Microsoft Teams, so they don't even have to leave their actual work to learn. And step 4, absolutely crucial, is performance-based measurement. We have to stop tracking meaningless completion rates and start tracking actual drops in error rates and real improvements in team synergy. Now, while microlearning is incredibly powerful, it's not a magic wand, right? It has boundaries. It excels at quick onboarding for role-specific tasks, sales enablement, and system training. However, it really struggles with deep conceptual learning or complex, long-term behavioral shifts if there's no practice or deeper traditional coaching attached to it. You always have to make sure you're using the right tool for the job. Moving right along to Section 4, Learning in the Flow. This is where it gets really exciting. Organizations are now using these platforms to integrate psychometric data, things like DISC or the Enneagram, to send hyper-personalized nudges directly in the flow of work. Imagine getting a quick prompt right before a big meeting that helps you navigate a conversation with a teammate who has a totally different problem-solving style than you do. This is our blueprint for ongoing soft-skill professional development in everyday life. We're using these micro-moments to build a real culture of humility. We can challenge each other to practice clean speech, actively eliminating toxic talk and gossip, and instead learn to genuinely appreciate the unique contributions everyone brings. It creates a space where we can openly, safely acknowledge our own deficits. For example, maybe you learn to spot the person on your team with low energy who just needs a bit more motivation that day. Or if one person works lightning fast and another is a bit slower and methodical, the system nudges a middleman to step in and balance out that load so the whole team succeeds together. It's all about cultivating this brave curiosity where you can say, I don't know, without any fear of judgment. All those old stigmas are removed, psychological safety becomes the absolute standard, and you get this dynamic team synergy that is so healthy, even your customers are going to feel it. And the best part? Employees actually love it. One user described a micro-learning platform as the Duolingo of the corporate space, and that hits the nail on the head. By using TikTok-style delivery, swipeable flashcards, and really smart gamification, like building up streaks or earning badges based on applying actual skills, corporate development becomes, well, kind of addictive. It completely stops being this dreaded chore and instead becomes a really fun daily habit of growth. Let's look at what's powering this in Section 5, AI and hyper-personalization. So Gartner predicts that by 2026, AI is going to personalize up to 80% of all learning content. Basically, AI acts as this incredibly intelligent co-pilot. It analyzes an employee's behavior, maps their very specific skill gaps against the broader organization's goals, and then recommends the exact right lesson at the exact right time. It essentially takes that deeply personalized one-on-one coaching experience and scales it to thousands of employees without needing this massive, bloated learning and development budget. Finally, Section 6, Measuring Real Performance Impact. When you actually make that shift, moving away from tracking completely meaningless completion rates to looking at actual performance metrics using this embedded microlearning, the data is just undeniable. We are seeing up to 50% better knowledge retention. Employees are applying their new skills literally 3 times faster. And because the learning is actually in the flow of their work and hyper-relevant to their daily challenges, engagement spikes by a massive 250%. This right here is the true power of giving people the exact tools they need precisely when they need them. So I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative question to think about. In 2026, are you building a smarter workforce or just a faster one? Because effective microlearning and microcoaching, they really aren't just about shrinking your content down to save some time. They're about fundamentally enabling targeted, intelligent performance and building an unstoppable culture of trust, humility, and continuous growth. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope you found this breakdown valuable, and I highly encourage you to look at your own training programs and ask yourself how you can start integrating these powerful micro moments of growth starting today. Catch you next time.